Heads up! Heads up! Here's another one, and another one. Why you all in my ear?
Alright guys, this is Colin, and I'm here to present you the first ever Redskin reviews. And today I'm doing it on Sherlock Holmes, A Game of Shadows, the highly anticipated sequel to the first Sherlock Holmes movie. Alright, before we get started, let's kind of go over the story. The story picks up about a couple of years after the first movie, where it seems that Sherlock and Watson's friendship/partnership is kind of strained. Watson's getting married, and, well, Sherlock is getting nuttier than ever. But it seems Sherlock's arch-nemesis, Professor James Moriarty, is trying to prematurely start World War I. Now, I'm a big history nut, and anything, kind of talking about, like, post-World War I, or pre-World War I, or post-World War II and pre-World War II, that interests me. And this is, like, in the midst of the Industrial Revolution, and I think it takes place in 1891. I believe this movie takes place, and it has me pumped from the beginning. Alright, the cast, oh my god, I friggin' love this movie when it came to the cast. Their chemistry was great when they were on screen talking to one another. Acting was phenomenal, especially from Robert Downey Jr. reprising his role as Sherlock Holmes. Jude Law, awesomely, as Dr. Watson. And newcomer Noomi Rapace. I was really surprised. I didn't have that high hopes for her in this movie, but seeing how well of a performance she delivered as the gypsy woman Zemza, I really liked it. And I'm actually excited to see her in the Prometheus, the Alien prequel, which I'm, not to get sidetracked or anything, I am a big fan of the Alien franchise, as many of you know me in real life. Also, Jared Harris as Professor Moriarty. He was smart, but also very menacing in a way, and it was really cool. You have Robert Downey Jr., who's quirky, but smart as a whip. Well, however you want to phrase that, but it was really fun to see two intellects of the same stature go up against one another. And not necessarily fisticuffs, which there are plenty of that in this movie, but it was amazing to see these two intelligent men have mind games against one another, and I really liked it. The acting was on par, everything is amazing, and one more cast member I forgot to talk about, but she's not really in the movie, but I'll mention her anyway. Rachel McAdams, which she reprises her role from the last movie, but I'll get to that in a minute, farther down the line. Alright, directing. Guy Ritchie. He, as a movie fanatic and also amateur director, I love Guy Ritchie. There's no denying that. His movies, I friggin' loved Rock and Rolla. Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels is also one of my most favorite movies. And here again, this is just an awesome Guy Ritchie movie. So if you're a Guy Ritchie fan, go see it. Cinematography was phenomenal, and the whole era of late 1800s / early 1900s England, and, well, not necessarily England, but Europe, it's very, you almost feel it like you're there. I mean, there's a couple of instances where you look up at the sky and, you're like, okay, that's definitely animated, but I had a really good time with this movie, cinematography-wise, and, visual tricks. That's another thing. You need to pay really close attention to this movie, because there's some kind of visual cues that kind of mess with your eyes, but after you pay close attention, you realize, oh, you got me, Guy Ritchie. You and your tricks. Another thing, witty writing. And this goes back to the chemistry between the characters. The characters, they're not your stereotypical acting stereotypes. They communicate. They're acting like real people would in real situations. And also, the story isn't too shabby, like I said previously. On a random note, this is one of those movies where you really need to see it twice, because there's some things that you won't catch the first time that when you see it the second time, you're like, oh, that makes total sense. And this goes back to the visual tricks things. There's some things with the first time you see it that you'll miss it, but if you see it a second time, you'll be like, It was there the whole time. How come I didn't see it? You see? You see? And another recommendation, see it with a crowd of friends or really good people you know. Or just go see it on a Friday night with a packed theater. You will have more fun doing it that way. There's a lot of funny dialogue that it's better to laugh at it with a crowd because you more enjoy the laugh. If it's just like a few people that, let's just face it, if they're not that smart and they don't get the joke, you look like a total tool laughing by yourself. No one likes that. Also, this is kind of a complaint, but kind of not. If you're a dumbass, and I'm sorry if I'm offending you if you have a low IQ. In other words, don't be watching this video. If you're a dumbass, don't go to this movie because there's a lot of smart humor that you won't get. And if you're saying, oh, I was stupid, I didn't get that, then shut the fuck up and get the hell out of the movie theater. That's just my recommendation. I mean, whatever. You can complain to me. I mean, if you don't like what I have to say, obviously don't fondle the like button. But another thing, pay attention. Those visual tricks will mess with you. That's just another recommendation. Complaints? I really love this movie. I didn't have that many complaints, but this, as I mentioned earlier, Rachel McAdams, this is actually one of the complaints. It wasn't her acting. She was good as always, but the reason that I've been hearing a lot of people like complaining, how come they're not advertising Rachel McAdams and the promotional stuff? It says on Internet Movie Database she's in the movie. There's a particularly good reason why they're not advertising how the fact she's in here. I wouldn't say that she has a cameo, but she has a very particular part of the story that it doesn't surprise me why they wouldn't advertise her in this movie because the amount of screen time. I'm not going to give it away, but it just kind of pisses me off after you kind of get attached to her character from the last movie and what happens. It's just watch the movie. I'm not going to spoil it. Overall, I really enjoyed this movie. I had no problems with it. So, you know what? Since this is the first time review I'm ever doing, I'm going to give it a 5 out of 5 stars. It has cred with me. Good movie. Go watch it. It was worth matinee and full price. Alright, guys. Until next time. Adios, muchachos.